My Rich Husband's Secret, Helen's Part. Byron did a proper background checks on Helen. He cannot let his guards down again and he needed new fresh blood. He took his time to gather some informations about Helen. The sweetest part of Helen's history was that she is an orphan who grew up in an orphanage home. So she ran away from the orphanage at 17 years. Being a 25-year-old woman, without any relative and few friends, was more like an icing to Byron's cake. He was all smiles the day his private investigator gave him this information. Finally, this one will simply disappear without disturbance. My kind of prey, he said to himself while smiling. Helen, on the other hand, was a kind of girl who had been on the street for years, as a runs girl. She started going to church after changing her location to deceive people. Byron's investigator didn't get this information because everyone around Helen's street and place of work knew her as a church girl who was an orphan. Helen belonged to a group of runs girls who suck men dry spiritually. They have a spiritual mother who equipped them for such job. She left such life a few years ago. But meeting Byron and seeing how rich he was, changed her. Helen had to travel to visit their spiritual mother and apologize for running away. I just met the biggest cash cow who is looking for an orphan to marry, Helen shouted immediately she stepped into their spiritual mother's shrine. So I want to kill him once we are married and take everything he has. Helen was so happy, she told their spiritual mother how she had been acting like a sheep before Byron. Their spiritual mother, who is a very powerful native doctor, smiled and told Helen that winning Byron will not be that easy. Byron has a very dark side. I have tried reading him, but he is not just clear. Anyway, I will fortify you to fight off anything that might come your way, their spiritual mother said, smiling. I will give you a mirror and a special cloth. You will place this mirror in your bedroom and wear this cloth every night whenever you are sleeping. And most importantly, drink this portion every day. Just a drop of it in your mouth will do wonders, Mother said, handing over a bottle of black liquid content to Helen. Whatever Byron is, manifests more at night. So be vigilant, Mother said, smiling again. Helen promised to share the wealth she will gather from Byron 50-50 with her spiritual mother. Over the years, Byron have gathered loyal servants with money. He had also bought the police in his state. So if you report any crime involving Byron, you will be arrested instead. On the night of their wedding, Helen, after placing the mirror in her room, wore the cloth her spiritual mother gave her and slept off. Byron couldn't even wait for a few days before attempting to suck Helen's blood. He has been hungry for a fresh blood from a young woman, who is his own. He knelt down beside Helen while she slept. He took her hand and was about to sink his teeth into her flesh, then he stopped as he noticed something very odd. Helen had no pulse. He flung her hand away and ran outside. So many questions was roaming through his mind. Is she dead? What is happening? Should I just eat her? But I don't eat a dead meat, unless I am the killer. He was still thinking and pacing about, when he heard Helen's voice. Honey, are you awake? Byron swallowed hard and turned to face her. No, I am not, he answered with anger. Byron decided to watch Helen for a few more days. If I can't suck her blood while she is sleeping, then I will do it when she is awake, he thought to himself and smiled. After all, no one knows her and she is never leaving my house alive. Then one day, Byron changed into a beast before Helen. She screamed with fear and started running. She tried to run out of the house, but Byron caught her and took her straight to their room. He sunk his teeth immediately in her flesh and sucked as much blood as he wanted. Helen fell on the ground, feeling so weak. Byron placed her back on the bed and ordered his servants to feed her. The next day, Byron repeated the same thing. Helen kept taking the black substance her spiritual mother gave her. Every day when Byron goes out, she would manage and stand up to take a sip of the substance. Byron started noticing some changes. Every time he sucks Helen's blood, it takes hours for him to change into a human being. His beastly nature will remain for too long. He felt it was because Helen's blood was no longer as fresh as it used to. Then one day, Helen emptied the bottle of the black substance in her mouth. She hoped it would save her, because she was now so weak and had no flesh again. Byron came as usual to suck her blood. He had already started making arrangement for a new wife, because Helen no longer served him. He sunk his teeth, but this time around, Helen's blood burned him like an acid in his mouth. He screamed in pain. This is the first time he had ever experienced pain in so many years. He tried to suck her blood again. After he managed to suck it, he found out he couldn't change into a beast again. He waited for hours and nothing changed. He dragged Helen out to his sitting room and asked her, "What did you do to me?" Helen smiled weakly and said, "I came prepared for you. I knew you were too good to be true. Even though my plan was to kill you and take over your wealth. But I am glad you will remain a beast forever, so that another innocent woman will not fall prey to your beastly charm again." Byron was so surprised to hear that. "I thought she was just a nobody. How can this little feather destroy me?" He roared and ran outside, but his body went up in flames. Apparently the sun now affects him. He ran inside his house and everywhere was on fire. The whole house started burning. His servants, who were also his prisoners, started scampering for safety. Helen was too weak to run. She also died in the fire alongside Byron.